Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Thursday. So, I decided to write a note on my post today, let everybody know how I always change my mind. I just love doing my job. So, I guess I'm also just keep at it day by day, one day at a time, video at a time and stuff. Since we're not getting the real news off the regular TV there, we are the news. Oh, Kim's first. I'll play Doug video first for you, Kim. He came out with Pelosi. Chico, come on, get up here. Come on. Come on. I had to open the window up. Weather's getting a little bit warmer, but winter's not over yet. JD Vance is speaking right now. I don't want to hear that. I want to stop market. So the top story. Ah. The top story of today is Hillary, you guys. Is it really Hillary? Sit down, Chico, relax. Hey, Carol and Flying Eagle. Sounds good. Yeah, I wrote a post in earlier, Flying Eagle, about like how I said at the beginning now that I just love doing this job. That's coming on when there's intel, and there's always intel to get out. And so much to share. My brother was out on a job. He's gonna come get me and do a few things when he calls. When I'll stop and I'll come back tonight. So hopefully we'll get a couple hours in. And a lot of good stuff. But so did anybody listen to RSBN? The guy was reading the statements on Hillary this morning. The puppet Hillary that never was involved with the Epstein, never knew him or something. She was saying all that. That's all they're going to get. They're not going to get nothing. How you feel, Gay? Did you see what I posted on my post? I decided to do that. I didn't want to bug you. I'll let you rest. Yeah, I wrote a post and everything on how I always change my mind and everything about when to go and not to come on. But who else is going to get the intel out like what we do every day, every subject? Paul. So yeah, the top story is the puppet Hillary in session today. Yep. Never associated with Epstein. Billy came out, Carol. I sent it to you already. Her first one. Flying Eagle, did Dr. Pruitt have anything the last couple of days? I've seen her, she's been on, but she's saying anything? Okay, I'll play that one first for you, Kim. Flying Eagle, I got that uh, raid report from Dallas video. I'll play that after I play um, Doug for Kim. So the warming up out here, Kay. So the windows open and he's barking like crazy now. They're working in the hallway. Chico, come on now. Stop. God, there's now Trish came out with a video. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of news out. So we'll go ahead and get going, guys. Everybody, these are the working hours. A lot of people are at work. Hopefully, they'll be listening. Lucy's normal. She works, so hopefully she'll see that I'm on. All right, we'll go ahead and I'll log into Telegram here and get Doug in. Uh, this is 9 minutes.
Doug in exile, as we set up the Republicans for a win and knock down the Democrats. Harry Anton on the overwhelming popularity of immigration in the hands of Republicans. Democrats are going to lose on this issue. We got to keep underlining it through 2026.
It's so important to note, after all the events in Los Angeles, after all the events in Minneapolis, after all the events of the last year on immigration, can Democrats actually take advantage on this issue? And a look at the polling suggests actually, no, they're in a worse position than they were at this point during Donald Trump's first term. Take a look here. Trust which party more on immigration? In 2018, Democrats had an edge of about 6 points. You come over to this side of the screen now, look at that. Republicans are the ones who actually have an edge on immigration. So this whole idea that Democrats are going to be able to take advantage of the immigration group, of the immigration issue, actually doesn't bear itself out in the polling, despite everything that's been going on. In fact, Democrats are in worse position than they were during Donald Trump's first term.
That's a 10-point swing. 10-point swing the Republicans have over the Democrats. America is listening to the message, and we have to tell the Americans, look, if you put Democrats back in office, they're going to open the borders up. They're going to invite 11 million more illegals in, and criminals and lunatics and asylums, and they're going to try and make them into citizens and voters for their party. That's their goal.
Either they don't like what Donald Trump, the president, is doing, but they don't think Democrats will do a better job.
Correct. They think Democrats will do a worse job on immigration than Republicans.
All right. Okay. I'm going to move on from that because I'm just going to show you. I showed you this clip before on the 10-point swing. This is what Trump's inaugural address did. In one evening, he clearly emphasized immigration, and look what happened to his poll numbers.
And look at the growth President Trump made over the speech. So pre-speech, it was 54% of speech watchers said his policies will move the U.S. in the right direction. After the speech, that number goes up 10 percentage points. So Donald Trump made some progress with people watching the speech from their pre-speech expectations to what they saw in the speech itself. And
okay, and we're going to go over his two major points in that speech that account for that 10-point swing. Number one was he brought up the economy. I don't think he underlined it as much as he could have, but overwhelmingly the amount of time and the emotional efforts went into the illegals and the illegals committing crimes that he stopped in America. That's what accounts for a 10. You guys don't understand like how epic a 10-point swing is just from one speech. And that's not just with Republicans, remember, that's with all voters. Now, this is on the difference in the Democrat Party, because I went into how the Democrats were lunatics yesterday. We're going to underline this just a little bit. In the span of just one generation, so this is proof. It's not that Trump did something right. It's the Democrats did something wrong. In the span of just one generation, Democrats went from having pride in America at basically the same level as Republicans to now only 1/3 of Democrats have pride in America. They went nuts. What does MAGA mean? Make America great again. It is national pride. It is American pride. He is a patriot. He loves the fireworks. He loves the national anthem. He loves our traditions. And Democrats more and more hate that. And that's because the Democrats are more and more taken over by a leftist satanic ideology. Republicans' numbers have held. What's going on here? It was Lenin, the communist, that said, you give him a student for 8 years and he'll have him for life. A communist will have them for life. This is our education system has let us down, I believe. On the left over there in 2001, we were largely all the same. Republicans with the red line, there's an independent dotted line at the bottom, which is largely libertarian. And then in the middle, the blue is the Democrat. So how proud are you to be an American? Well, right now, in 2025, only 1/3 of Democrats are proud to be an American. That's very good news for the election. They hate the country, and that's also why they love illegal aliens. They don't see illegal aliens bringing in their culture into our country as a threat. They think America could be taken over by Somalis, Muslims in the case of Mamdani, every kind of illegal there is. They're like, well, America isn't special or unique, so they can come in and take us over culturally. Doesn't matter because we hate this place. We hate America. That's the Democrats. And finally, How successful was Trump's speech? I want to show you this clip real quick because this has Nancy Pelosi on this particular clip. This is a new ad
Yeah, we
the
saw
Republicans
that.
are running based on Trump calling Democrats crazy. There's crazy Nancy Pelosi right there. Look how half asleep she was. She would not stand up when Trump asked them to stand with American citizens and against illegal aliens.
These people are crazy.
These people are crazy is the quote. And you heard me do a video on this yesterday where Jake Tapper tried to condemn him calling Democrats crazy when they would not stand for parents who had their kid taken away from them to have their sex changed by the state. That is, the Democrats would not stand with the parents anymore. And that's what he means by you can't trust them. They're crazy. I'm just going to play the very last couple seconds of that ad for you. Republicans are for you. If his messaging in that lecture was so bad, why are Republicans now buying ad time and running the ad of that speech? I'll let you guys figure it out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I'm Doug in Exile.
Yeah, I got one out there for you there, Kim. So you guys, I just got the first video clip from the hearing from this morning. It's 8 minutes. And the update on the market is minus 450.
All right, well, thank you for being here today. Just want to go back on the timeline of how we got here. Several months ago, during a subcommittee hearing of oversight, there was a motion made by a Democrat member, Summer Lee, to subpoena the certain documents. Then the motion was amended by Scott Perry to include subpoenas for various names. I think there were 8 names originally, including Bill and Hillary Clinton. Everyone that was included in that subpoena has already either been interviewed by the Oversight Committee or sent in a statement that they had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of the investigation, except the Clintons. We worked for 6 months to get the Clintons to come in, and then they acted like they were going to come in, and then they didn't show up. And obviously, we moved to hold the Clintons in contempt. And I think one thing that surprised the Clintons, they assumed the Democrats on the committee would vote in a partisan manner and not vote to hold the Clintons in contempt. And what they learned was a majority of the Democrats on the committee either voted to hold the Clintons in contempt or voted present. And I think that's a statement that this investigation is serious. It is a bipartisan investigation. The American people have a lot of questions. To my knowledge, the Clintons haven't answered very many, if any, questions about their knowledge or involvement with Epstein and Maxwell. Again, no one's accusing at this moment the Clintons of any wrongdoing. They're going to have due process, but we have a lot of questions. And the purpose of the whole investigation is to try to understand many things about Epstein. How did he accumulate so much wealth? How was he able to surround himself with some of the most powerful men in the world? Was he an asset for our government or any other government? These are the questions that we're going to ask over the next 2 days, and hopefully we'll be able to get some answers. And as always, we're going to release the transcripts. We're going to release the video as soon as everyone has approved it. The normal process in a deposition is the attorneys would have the opportunity to review the transcript and review the video to make sure that there are no errors. And this is going to be a long video because this is going to be a long deposition. Today will be a long deposition, I would assume, and tomorrow will be an even longer deposition. Every member of the Oversight Committee is going to have questions for the Clintons, as well as our trained staff that do nothing but deposition. So after our hour of questioning, we're going to send a couple of members of the Oversight Committee out to be able to give you an update of what's going on and answer some questions. So with that, we'll answer a question or two, and then we'll go back to the
Mr. Kohler, are you concerned that there has been a cover-up of sexual abuse of a minor by President Trump? There are missing FBI records that appear to be.
No, we're looking into the accusation by the NPR. we don't know the answer to that. We know what the administration says. We're still looking to get a definitive answer on that. But look, let's just be realistic here. If you go by a lot of what the Democrats have said, you had Jasmine Crockett accused Lee Zeldin of taking donations from Jeffrey Epstein. It was the wrong Jeffrey Epstein. We've had Ro Khanna sit on the floor and name names of people that he thought were involved in Epstein that weren't even involved. So, sometimes the Democrats on the committee aren't the best. Go ahead, Chad. Yeah.
What about the idea, though, that I understand you say that this is different with some of the members or some of the people who were subpoenaed who didn't have this direct contact? But some folks have said it seems like the Clintons are basically on trial here versus people who know more about the, what was going on with Maxwell, what was going on with Epstein, and that this is really kind of dragging them through the mud when there are other witnesses.
Well, let's address that, Chad. The Democrats voted to subpoena the Clintons. The Democrats voted with the Republicans to hold the Clintons in contempt. So the Democrats have just as many questions for the Clintons as the Republicans. So this isn't a partisan witch hunt. This was a bipartisan motion supported by the Democrats to bring the Clintons in. So I don't think it's any type of being unfair in any way to the Clintons. They've never answered questions, unlike President Trump, who gets questioned every day by just about every one of you about his knowledge or involvement with Epstein. To my knowledge, the Clintons haven't answered very many questions about it. We'll do one more question. Go ahead.
In the spirit of bipartisanship, would you then ask the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to come testify? It seems like he has some information.
That's very possible, and I think I think it's a good possibility that his name will arise in some questioning today.
It'll be on my list, and I have an email I printed off for Hillary to ask about Howard Lutnick today. So
God's watching.
We're asking again, and I want to remind everyone, we've already brought in Alex Acosta and Bill Barr for deposition. That's two Republicans in the Trump administration. So this isn't just about Democrats. This is about anyone that has any knowledge of Epstein, the investigation. I think we all agree the government failed. The government failed the victims. And what our role is, we can't prosecute anyone. But what we have been doing is getting transparency to the American people. We subpoenaed the estate. That had nothing to do with the discharge petition. We subpoenaed the documents for the estate. That's what the victims asked us to do. And what you're seeing is there is accountability finally happening. You've seen at least a dozen very powerful people, men and women, who have already resigned, many in disgrace from their board positions. So we're seeing accountability, but we have a desire to see a lot more accountability. We want to get the answers, and hopefully the next 2 days will be a step in the right direction on our investigation. One more. And then
what about that being said, I mean, Hillary Clinton has said she has no links to Jeffrey Epstein. She doesn't recall meeting him. So what specific information do you believe she has that warrants her testimony?
Well, you'll see. I mean, we're going to ask a lot of questions, but with respect to when you look at all the co-conspirators, and we've all seen the unredacted documents, Maxwell is the main co-conspirator. No one brought more women in and lied to more women about what was going to happen with their involvement with Jeffrey Epstein than Ghislaine Maxwell. We know that obviously Maxwell was a guest at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. There weren't many people that went to that wedding. So again, we're not accusing Hillary Clinton of wrongdoing. We know that Jeffrey Epstein said many times in emails that he was the first person to raise money for the Clinton Initiative, the Clinton Foundation, that he solicited money at some of his properties for the Clinton Foundation. Again, that's not saying anything's illegal, but there are a lot of questions pertaining to Secretary Clinton with respect to Epstein and his involvement in the Clinton Initiative and her relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. So we'll come out every hour when we get finished, and different members will update you and answer any questions. Thank you all.
Why were the Clintons forced to go to Washington at taxpayer expense?
Okay, we heard that side. Oh, I got a 6-minute clip on the bad side. I got two of the lady from our funny lady, Lucy. When I find them, I'll get to them. Okay, I sent you the YouTube lady for an update.
For 2 days auditions of both Secretary Clinton and former President Bill Clinton. So I'm going to have some general comments. We will actually be back out here to answer any questions once we've actually started the depositions, but we wanted to make some brief comments right now, and then we'll go ahead and go in and start. Let me just begin by saying that Oversight Democrats from day one, we have said that we want to talk to anyone,
we'll play
any
2
person
minutes.
that has information about Jeffrey Epstein, about his crimes, about how he was able to get so much wealth. We will talk to any single person, whether that is a Democrat, a Republican, how much wealth they have, how powerful their position is. We want to talk to anyone. So we're happy to be here, and we're glad that both Secretary Clinton and former President Clinton are willing to talk to this committee. I also think it's important to note, I'm glad to see that we have our Republican colleagues here. As a big group of them. I wish they would have joined us at the Les Wexner deposition, but I'm glad that they're here now to get questions answered. That is an important part of our investigation. Let me just add that as it relates to Secretary Clinton, who's here today, she has been very clear. She's never met Jeffrey Epstein. We have no evidence of her having any interactions with Mr. Epstein. And so I think that's important to note as we walk into this deposition. But I also want to say, which I think is very important, that at this very moment, the Department of Justice continues to lead a White House cover-up. And we're going to be demanding, even over these next few days, that the remaining files that have not been released get released to the public. And that includes new files that were just discovered in the last couple of days of a survivor that has made serious accusations and allegations against not just Jeffrey Epstein, but also against President Trump, and about abuse that she suffered when she was a minor. We have seen the DOJ files and the archive manifest that clearly shows that the interviews and information around this survivor have been removed and are missing from the DOJ files. Where are these files? Who removed them? Those questions have to be answered. What we have is a survivor that we have verified, that others have verified, and those files are missing. It's not just those. It's an additional 50% of files that are missing. It is unconscionable. It is illegal. And Pam Bondi and the president need to answer to where those files are. And that's going to continue to drive our work, not just today, but every single day until we get justice for the survivors.
Okay,
I'm going to have
that's enough
some of
of
our members here
Democrats.
make a few comments as well.
We got our press secretary from last night, I believe. Four minutes.
You took pictures of American champions that made us proud, that are proud of their president, their country, and proud to represent us.
Well, I didn't know it caused such a controversy either, Sean, until I just saw that headline flash on the screen, and I'm truly appalled. I saw a lot of Democrat commentators today spiraling out of control, grasping at straws, trying to find any excuse to criticize President Trump's exceptional speech last night, and they have a very hard time doing so. It's even forced them, as you just pointed out, to turn against the great men and women who brought home gold medals for the first time in 46 years since the Miracle on Ice. These are great men. They're patriots. They are great athletes who represented our country at the highest level of sports. And the president was so proud to present them to the joint Congress last night. Both Democrats and Republicans should be able to stand up and clap for these young men who made our country so proud on the world stage. But unfortunately, it appears that Democrats, their brains have been so debilitated by Trump derangement syndrome that they can't even root for Team USA. They can't even stand when the president calls on them to do so for American citizens who they swear an oath to protect.
You know, if you go back in time, I mean, we have clips we played on this program of Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, even Chuck Schumer saying you need ID or else it lends itself to corruption and fraud. And that was the Democratic Party then. This party does not even represent Barack Obama or Bill Clinton. And I thought, especially in the case of Barack Obama, he was pretty far left. Now, I think the absolute genius in the speech last night, and I want to know if you agree, is the president created the greatest, comparative choice election this country will ever face. If you think it's the first duty of the government to protect American citizens and not illegals, stand with us. They didn't stand, Caroline. They sat. What does that say?
It shows their true colors, Sean. President Trump set the Democrats up in a trap, and they fell right into it because they cannot help themselves. They truly stand on the side of the tens of millions of illegal aliens who they allowed to pour in to our nation's open borders under the Biden administration. They truly stand on the side of career criminals who have gone to jail not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 12 times in the case of the young woman in North Carolina whose neck was slit by a career criminal who was released back onto the streets in North Carolina by Democrat policies. And they could not even stand for her heartbroken mother, who President Trump was commending last night. They couldn't even stand for a young girl who is now suffering a brain problem for the rest of her life because of an illegal alien truck driver who smashed into her family's vehicle. It was so despicable to be in that chamber and to watch as these Democrats really did show their true colors. But to your point, the president, it was a brilliant idea. It was his idea to put that into the speech. And it proved to be right because he wanted the American people to know that this is a choice between common sense and President Trump and Republicans and crazy radical Democrats who stand for nothing except for being against Donald Trump.
Last night, they gave Republicans the greatest gift they could ever want, and that is they exposed themselves to be so radical, so extreme, so out of touch, so lacking common sense. I think this will all play out in the midterms. Caroline, great to see you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to...
Okay, that was from last night interview. I got Pete 5 minutes. I can't remember this one, Fine Eagle. I don't know if it's a new one or not.
Focused across the full spectrum of expenditures. This includes maximizing our return on investment when officers and senior enlisted service members attend expensive civilian universities. Graduates should emerge much more capable warfighters, you'd think. But unfortunately, America's highly ranked universities no longer live up to their founding principles as bastions of free speech, open inquiry, and committed to the American values that make our country great. Take Harvard University, for example. I know it well. Our military has had a rich tradition with Harvard throughout American history. In 1775, you probably didn't know this, General George Washington took command of the Continental Army in Harvard Yard and used the university as a military base. From that time through the Korean War, military service was commonplace at Harvard. There are more recipients of our nation's Medal of Honor who went to Harvard than any other civilian institution in the United States. But today, this university with such a unique history, which receives billions of our federal tax dollars, is one of the red-hot centers of hate America activism. Too many faculty members openly loathe our military. They cast our armed forces in a negative light and squelch anyone who challenges their leftist political leanings, all while charging enormous tuition. It's not worth it. They've replaced open inquiry and honest debate with rigid orthodoxy. In our line of work, ideological automatons are useless. We need leaders who can wrestle with multiple viewpoints, professionals who can think critically and independently to solve important questions. Even more troubling is Harvard's partnership with our adversaries. campus research programs have partnered with the Chinese Communist Party. University leadership encouraged a campus environment that celebrated Hamas, allowed attacks on Jews, and still promotes discrimination based on race in violation of Supreme Court decisions. DEI was literally founded at Harvard. Thankfully, President Trump understands this and has moved to end these abuses. He called out Harvard for being a factory of woke ideology and a breeding ground for anti-American radicals. His administration reminded Harvard leadership that it's the responsibility of the federal government to ensure that all recipients are responsible stewards of taxpayer funds. Last year, the Trump administration put Harvard on notice. Quote, Harvard has fundamentally failed to protect American students and faculty from anti-Semitic violence and harassment, in addition to other alleged violations of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, end quote. Why should the War Department support an environment that's destructive to our nation and the principles that the vast majority of Americans hold dear? The answer to that question is that we should not, and we will not.
About 2 minutes.
For too long, this department has sent our best and brightest officers to Harvard, hoping the university would better understand and appreciate our warrior class. Instead, too many of our officers came back looking too much like Harvard. Heads full of globalist and radical ideologies that do not improve our fighting ranks. So, starting now and beginning in the 2026-2027 school year, I am discontinuing all graduate-level professional military education, PME, all fellowships and certificate programs between Harvard University and the War Department for active duty service members. This policy applies to service members enrolling in future courses of study at Harvard University while on active duty. Now, any currently enrolled service members will be allowed to finish their course of study. With some exceptions, the Ivy League as a whole has pervasive institutional bias and a lack of viewpoint diversity, including the coddling of toxic ideologies that undercuts our mission right here in this building. That is why in 2 weeks' time, components of all of our departments, Army, Navy, and Air Force, will evaluate all existing graduate programs for active duty service members at all Ivy League universities and other civilian universities. The goal is to determine whether or not they actually deliver cost-effective strategic education for future senior leaders when compared to, say, public universities and our military graduate programs. At the War Department, we will strive to maximize taxpayer value in building lethality to establish deterrence. It's that simple. That no longer includes spending millions of dollars on expensive universities that actively undercut our mission and undercut our country. We train warriors, not wokesters. Harvard, good riddance.
Okay, I think that was a new one, Paul. Okay, I got one. I'm not sure of you guys. Paul and Flying Eagle. We got 4-minute one. Can't remember on this one.
Activation code. Let's take a look at what I'm saying. Okay, so here it is. It starts here. This was before the State of the Union address. Scavino had put out this tweet asking, and he's focusing. Keep in mind, this is a focus. All right. How long will the president's State of the Union speech be tomorrow night at the U.S. Capitol? 30 to 60 minutes, 60 to 90, 90 to 120, 120 plus. That was cute as well by Dan. Extra eyes on it. And just like Gizmo was like, yes, that's the thing. Timing. So Dan is talking about timing of the speech, which Q already had given us back in 558, January 19th, a previous State of the Union speech back in 2018. Timing is everything, State of the Union. Okay, so let's keep going. So I was saying I picked up on some comms that I think we're going to get the activation code. Maybe it has to do with what's going on in the Middle East. We'll have to see what gets activated, but I'm pretty sure something just got activated in the speech, and let's take a look at what I'm talking about. So this was,
you guys remember this one?
2 days ago. This was on. I posted this on the 22nd. I said, take a look at Q648, connected to a few other things. That timing is everything from Gizmos is one of them. Okay, so this was connecting back to the 2018 timing is everything State of the Union, and the State of the Union speech back then was on January 30th, and Anand had said, hey, POTUS's speech was inspiring the day after, but Q came back and said, hey, listen, timing is everything. Did you miss the most important line in the entire speech? Activation code. So I posted this for this year saying, are we going to get an activation code in this year's 2026 State of the Union? And everything that we have going on in the Middle East, we're right on the precipice of some big time action. I'm not saying I'm positive that's what it will be, but makes the most sense. All right. But here's how it wraps up. So the speech was tonight. It's done. Go to Twitter. And so we're looking for a connection to this activation code Q648 that I just read about the speech. All right. Timing is everything. Timing. So Duporn _ says, hey, check it out. The speech was 107 minutes. And okay, so I gronked it, and sure enough, it was an hour and 47 minutes or 107 minutes, according to multiple sources right there, Politico, CNN, and others. All right. Now, Kimberly Auer says, hey, wasn't Stormy Patriot Joe looking for a code, an activation code? Look what Q107 reads. Whoa. Code. May God also grant all of us the wisdom to ask what concrete steps we can take to reduce violence and weaponry amidst. Note, when we just sent the go orders and when this tweet went live. Coincidence? Pray Q. Holy cow. The speech, 107 minutes. What's the chances that that hits exactly to this go order code that we were looking for on Absolute Storm on February 22nd when we put these things all together, saying pay attention to the speech. We might get a go order connection. I don't know. We'll have to see what the next day or two looks like. I'd see. My best guess is, things go hot in the Middle East, but could be something different. We'll just have to see. Let's see what happens. We'll go through this again on Absolute Storm, 6 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night, and we'll talk soon. Stormy Patriot Joe out.
Okay, I wasn't sure on that one. Okay, let's see. I got 3 of the Funny Lady. I'm not sure if we played these 3 or not, because we lost track of her. One might be new, but the other 2 might.
I'm down to 30 views a day from about 1,000 to 2,000. If you watch the State of the Union, then you know what the State of the Union is on the Democratic side. People that refuse to stand up for a grieving mother who lost her daughter in a brutal, unnecessary attack. You will also remember that they refuse to stand for veterans who rescued children from a flood in Texas. This is what is waiting on us if we do not win the midterms. Make sure you get out and vote in the midterms. Your fucking life, your children's lives, your business, your freedom depends on it. And if for some reason we don't win the midterms, God help us all, it is time for conservatives to take to the streets. I said what I fucking said. The only way that we are going to get the country back is by getting off of our sorry, lazy asses and taking to the streets. Hear me out. If we lose the midterms, it is over for conservatives. You have watched the nurses get on this app and talk about what they will do to MAGA people when they come to the hospital. You have watched business owners laugh at conservatives who lost their lives. You have watched all of this happen. And what do you think is waiting on us in the future? Our entire lives depend on winning this midterm. If we do not, and if we sit back like we did during the Biden years and keep our mouths shut, we only have ourselves to blame for what is coming. Do not forget Germany.
But another thing,
I think this is a new one, I believe.
Some of you were in your 20s when this stuff happened. You know, I'm not trying to downplay what happened, but y'all sure are hobnobbing with the Democrats a lot. You show up as their guest, and then you show up as their guest again, and then you show up as their guest. So you're hobnobbing with the party that protects criminals and lets them out of jail. We've got all these people that random people are walking up to and unaliving and mutilating, and the Democrats want them out of jail. They want to stop ICE from removing these people, and y'all are always the guest of the Democratic Party. Good.
So that said 4 hours ago, and this one says a new one. She only has 42 on this one. So this has got to be another new one.
Second time that someone has got onto your property and something has got to be done, fire them all, get rid of them, hire new people. I don't know what you got to do, but you need the same kind of security there that you have at the White House. This is nothing but sloppiness. You are the most hated man by the left ever. You have more threats than any other president in the world. Why is the security lacking at your home? That needs to be addressed.
This is a new one too, I
Second
believe.
thing I want to talk to you guys about. Nancy Guthrie. Let's talk real quick. I know y'all sick of it. Okay. If this was a home invasion gone bad or whatever, are you telling me the people came in there and didn't take not one thing? Why haven't they said, hey, in case you see this vase, in case you see this expensive candle holder, let us know because this was taken. None of that's been said. In fact, not much of anything has been said. I will say this, and I'll say it again, and got a lot of backlash on this right here. I'm not worth $40 million. I ain't worth $40.
Oh, yeah.
But if it was my mama, okay, I'll take that back. If it was my mama, I wouldn't be offering it. If you know my backstory, you will know why. But anyway, Savannah Guthrie is worth $40 million. She didn't put up not 1 cent for reward at the beginning. Somebody else, the Crime Stopper people or whatever, put up $2,500. $2,500 for a missing mama for a lady that is famous. Then somebody upped it to $5,000. Then it went to $50,000, and then the FBI got in. It went to $100,000. You're worth $40 million, and that's all you're offering for your mom. So now that it's been 4 weeks, we all know that this is not going to end well if it ever ends. If Nancy Guthrie is not sitting on a beach somewhere enjoying her margarita, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Something is so ridiculously off with this story. Now, y'all gonna offer $1 million when we all know she's never coming back. So you ain't got to pay that $1 million, right? So I had somebody say, you don't know she's worth $40 million. That could be wrong. Well, she's worth more than you. Would you offer $2,500 for your mama? So that's what the deal is right now. The State of the Union is tonight. I know that some of the Democrats are protesting it. Good. Stay away. We don't need you anyway. Guys, if you do pray, please say prayers for President Trump every single day of your life. This man, they are trying nonstop to take him out, and I am so fucking sick of it. I am so fucking sick of y'all not leaving this man alone. Leave him alone and let him do his job. No tax on tips. No tax on Social Security. No tax on overtime. On and on and on. but he hasn't done anything for the country, has he? Y'all are all a bunch of motherfuckers. Good afternoon, everybody. Here are my thoughts. President Trump.
Okay, sorry about that rerun on that one. I thought I had a new one out. I can't find it, but we'll get some new ones probably tonight. Okay. See what we got here. Oh, we got a 4-minute one. I'm going to play that 1:15 coming up from Dallas.
Of the Union.
I'm not apologizing for sitting.
Remember when I said I'm inviting every legislator to reaffirm a fundamental principle? If you agree, stand up and show support. The first duty of American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Everyone stood except you and other Democrats. Why?
I was thinking.
For 30 seconds, while everyone else stood.
Deep thinking.
Do you disagree that protecting Americans is the first duty of government?
No, I agree, but I was protesting.
Protesting the idea that we should protect American citizens?
No, I was protesting your framing.
What framing? It's a simple statement.
Nothing is simple with you.
Protect American citizens first. What's complicated?
The context, the implications.
The implication that Americans come first?
Yes. No. You're twisting it.
I'm literally asking if you agree Americans should be protected first.
Of course they should, but I was protesting.
Then why didn't you stand?
Because standing would endorse your broader agenda.
The agenda of protecting Americans?
No, your immigration agenda.
So you do think we should protect citizens first?
Yes.
But you won't stand when I say it?
Correct.
Even though you agree?
Especially because I agree.
That makes zero sense.
It makes perfect sense. I can agree with the words, but not the speaker.
So if Obama said it, you'd stand?
Absolutely.
Even though it's the same sentence?
It's different when he says it.
How is it different?
Tone, delivery, intent.
So you're judging based on who says it, not what's said?
Yes. That's called principle?
That's called hypocrisy.
It's nuance.
Let me get this straight. You agree Americans should be protected first?
Yes.
But when I ask people who agree to stand?
I sit.
Because you agree?
Exactly.
America, you seeing this?
Stop with your camera.
So on camera, for the record, do you think American citizens should be protected before illegal aliens?
That's a trap question.
It's a yes or no question.
There's no such thing as a yes or no question.
Is the sky blue? Is pretty, yes or no?
Not if you consider atmospheric conditions.
Chuck, do you or don't you think we should protect Americans first?
I think we should protect everyone.
That's not what I asked.
Well, that's my answer.
So you're refusing to say Americans come first?
I'm refusing to choose.
Between Americans and people who entered illegally?
They're all people.
I know. But do American citizens come first?
In some contexts.
In the context of government protection?
Maybe.
Maybe? That's your answer? Americans maybe come first?
Yes. Look, you're confusing me.
I asked one simple question.
There are no simple questions.
This is the Senate Minority Leader, folks.
I represent all Americans.
By refusing to say they come first?
I represent them by not ranking them.
Against illegal aliens?
Stop saying illegal. Say undocumented.
They're illegally here. That's illegal aliens.
That's dehumanizing.
It's the legal term.
Racist legal term.
It's been the term for 50 years.
50 years of racism.
You used it yourself in 2009.
That was before I was woke.
So you were racist in 2009?
I was evolving.
Into someone who won't say Americans come first?
I've evolved past nationalism.
You're a U.S. senator?
A global U.S. senator.
That's not a thing.
It is now.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying your position. Americans maybe come first sometimes in some contexts, but you can't say it out loud.
Exactly. Wait, no, you're twisting.
And that's why he sat down, because he literally cannot say Americans come first. Tremendous clarity. Thank you, Chuck.
The night was mighty dark, so you could hardly see.
Okay, a cartoon one there for everybody. Carol, we got a second Billy as a flash, but we're going to do Billy 2 videos, then we'll get back to the other ones, Dallas video. Billy's coming out twice already. Nothing on Nell yet, Roz.
(2026) time in Texas about 10 a.m. Some of the things we'll cover today: Congress / Nephilim, HRC on the hot seat today, Iran rejects talks. Israel is hitting Lebanon today, we understand. And what's going on in Cuba and Minnesota fraud. So let's get started. So I have from a Patriot subscriber, Keir Starmer, the leader of the UK, the one who's demonstrated he's a traitor to both the US and the UK, wanting to give Arcel, the Chagos Islands, including a U.S. strategic military base, Diego Garcia, to the CCP. Keir Starmer, my Patriot subscriber says, is in a zuzwag, a new word for me. It's spelled ZUGZWANG. And what that means is he's obliged to move, but it's likely any move he takes is going to be to his disadvantage. I agree. I have a Patriot subscriber who's talking about the Dems versus the American people and implies that the Dems are like the German government before World War II. And I have this from a Patriot subscriber who believes that Russian Oreshniks, we know that's a hyper-speed ICBM, Oreshnik, are soon to fall on countries who are supporting the Ukraine with missiles and technology. And I will say this, often my Patriot subscribers know stuff. And we have this. Okay, very interesting on Stuart Best's Substack last night. Best and Taylor did an interview with Barry Rothman. Barry served 10 years in the Navy and 24 in the Coast Guard. His primary job was writing war plans. He's also a Jewish Bible.
You guys want to hear Nick Shirley live? He's in New York City, you guys. So this is live picture. We're going to listen. We'll come back. And that would be cool to see him live.
This is illegal to be selling and purchasing. Just curious if you guys are aware of that.
This is live.
What's up?
It's gonna put it on the vlog.
We're live right now. Yes, sir. What are you? How much are you gonna spend on? How much are you looking to spend out here on Canal Street?
Oh, I'm not spending that. I just like entertaining them.
You just like entertaining them, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Look at
Respect
these.
the hustle, man.
I don't know if I can respect it. Look, if they weren't doing anything wrong, they wouldn't have to hide their faces. You know what I mean? Like they're doing illegal activity, and everyone's working hard for their dollars, and about 40% of each dollar goes back in the hands of the government. Meanwhile, 100% of their dollar goes back in their pocket. They're not paying into the system, but they're taking from people who are working in the system. Look at them, and they don't even speak English either. Anyone want to give me a quote?
One bag, one quote.
Look at this. You think anyone will talk to me if I show them $100?
And here's the thing on immigration, right? The first, second, third generation immigrants made America. They came here legally. All of these immigrants,
it was
that
all
came
built
here,
on good faith too.
all built on good faith and legality. The first, second, third generation immigrants can't stand this more than anyone else. Why? Because they just had to run a marathon of a gauntlet just to get citizenship, but they did it the right way. And then Biden lets in, 10 to 20 million free, easy pass to the front. How does that feel for the person that put all that effort in?
You cutting us off. How's it going, man? Doing great.
I think it's pretty cool to get them live.
What's going on? We got some bidding wars going on? We got some bidding wars? All righty, what a day out here on Canal Street, everybody. What's going on? I gotta get going. Look at all this trash. Is that normal for the trash to be like that?
Well, what's not normal
is I remember when I lived here, it was like at nighttime, it'd be like this.
Yeah,
people dump all this stuff.
Is if you're a New Yorker, you understand we've always lived with trash here. We don't have to, but we've always lived with trash here. And what happens if you fail to remove the snow quick enough, if you just understand the basics of physics, then the trash is nowhere to go but piled on top of the snow. So the first snowfall that came, there were mounds bigger than that, high as a U-Haul truck, with snow and trash just festering for days.
It is wild. It is absolutely wild.
Switch to Chrome to load your favorite sites fast.
We'll get back to Billy here
so
in a
you
little
can
bit.
browse with ease.
For the folks watching this, I promise you, I kid you not,
I gotta get
we
going.
could walk around for blocks for hours, especially if you come out here in a week a day. And I encourage everyone to come here and do the same thing we're doing, which is trying to speak to people in faith. But if you come out here during like a Saturday, say 10 a.m., this will be like this from 10 a.m. until like 6 p.m., especially on a spring day. And you'll sprawl. At some point, if it's not stopped, it will sprawl to One World Trade. It could sprawl as far as Central Park. What's to say it should stop, especially when the influx is being incentivized at $1.2 billion under Mamdani's budget?
Yeah.
Got every reason to suspect it will expand, not constrict.
Amen. Amen. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching this live stream. Thank you for those who watched, liked, commented, donated, became members. We appreciate you all. Copped the Leering Center hoodie. Things got a little wild. Snowballs were thrown, and we had a good time. And Sweeney, tell everyone where they can find you at.
Yeah, you can find me on pretty much all social media.
Oh, we must have missed it, you guys.
First 5 books of the Bible, Torah, and you take the first 5 books of the Bible in Hebrew. There's no spaces between the letters. Then you do a skip, and what comes out is a code. And Barry Rothman rightly believes that the Torah was written by God. And what's coming out now is identification of certain politicians who, according to the Bible code, are Nephilim, reptilian shapeshifters. I believe in the future we should ask politicians, as part of their qualifications, to present DNA to prove that they are fully human. So these individuals are not human, they are Nephilim. According to the Bible code, Maxine Waters, Pritzker, Newsom, Chuck Schumer, JB, and Obama, Mark Milley, Adam Schiff, and Chris Wray, and Harris, Kamala Harris, and also Hakeem Jeffries, to name a few. So that's going on. If you thought the Dems were horned devils, you were pretty accurate. And we have HRC on the hot seat today in a congressional hearing regarding Epstein. I mean, the burning questions are, who did you F? Where did you do it? Oh, and how old were they? And that burning question, is HRC bisexual? So HRC is on the hot seat today. Now, we've been hearing for the past couple of weeks evidence that Epstein was instrumental in setting up the Clinton Foundation. And we do know already that HRC and Bill Clinton are also Nephilim, coming from the Nephilim family Rockefeller. So that's going on. It's not going to be a boring day, is it? We heard late yesterday about some type of shootout near Cuba. A speedboat registered in Florida entered into the exclusive economic zone of Cuba, which extends 12 miles out from land into the ocean, and were within 1 nautical mile of the coastline. The Cuba Coast Guard had received a report. It was like 10 people in a speedboat armed. So the Cuba Coast Guard went out to confront them. The group in the boat opened fire on the Cuba Coast Guard. 4 were killed, 6 were wounded. But identification of who they are didn't come out till several more hours late last night. That this group, according to Cuba, are Cuban nationals who came from Florida to do terrorist acts in Cuba. They were armed. They had in their boat Molotov cocktails and other type terrorist supplies. So that's going on. And oh yes, the U.S. government, we predict sometime today will come out and give us a report. We have this from Tusi TV today. This morning, Israel is hitting the Iranian proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon. And that the talks in Geneva, Switzerland today, this morning, between the U.S. and Iran rejects everything and then says to the U.S., hey, we want to take a break for several hours and we'll get back to you this afternoon in Geneva. Many believe this is just a pretext for Iran to mount a preemptive hit on Israel. So look for fireworks today. And we have this. So we currently have over the past month sent 300 C-17s. Those are large military cargo planes to the Middle East. And we know that war always affects economy. We have this coming out yesterday that the CME in Chicago, metals traders, gold, silver, platinum plus, suspended all trade, and they suspended all natural gas futures and the options market. And when they will resume trading is unknown. Now, I will remind you, last Thanksgiving, JP Morgan moved all of its metals traders and their families from Chicago to Singapore. I submit the financial people have known for several months about an upcoming war situation. We have this. Saudi Arabia yesterday turned their spigots on full to juice up their production of oil. Because if Iran is hit, that's going to give opportunities to other Middle East countries to sell their oil. And
why aren't people on Medicare grabbing the free card before the 12-hour clock runs out? All people on Medicare who
definitely expect the price of oil to go up. As I put forth yesterday, a hit on Iran will benefit Russia by increasing the price of oil. And we're hearing this morning, Russia has withdrawn all military support for Iran. We've been hearing there were Russians in Iran, there were Russian ships. Well, they're all gone. I submit also we'll see China all gone too, because China is on the brink of a kinetic civil war. And we have this coming out in the last 24 hours that the IRGC has pre-positioned rocket missiles on launchers, and they are ready for a preemptive strike on not only Israel, but also U.S. bases located in the UAE. And we had yesterday that the U.S. moved all Navy ships out of Bahrain out into the sea. And now we have this. Yeah. So yesterday we were hearing the terms that Iran was going to present to the U.S. today in Geneva. That while Iran currently has uranium enriched to 60%, they will take it down to 3.6%, the same as they agreed in 2015. And that they will hold it at this enrichment level for 7 years. The U.S. is pressing for 10 years. And the U.S. wants Iran to ship out 100% of its current enriched uranium. Iran's answer will be no. And we currently have multiple reports that in the Middle East, the U.S. has anywhere from 350 to 500 planes, 2 carriers, 40 refuelers, a Hunter sub, and 700 tons of ammo. I believe the U.S. has pre-positioned military assets, definitely for a hit on Iran. We have this from Deep Dive, an F-16 pilot, John Waters, talking about, and his YouTube site is Afterburn, that we currently have 250 combat U.S. planes, while other sources are pushing that number up to 350 to 500. And the last time we had this massive buildup was before the U.S. hit Iraq. And we also saw, associated with that recent hit on Iran, Operation Midnight Hammer included F-16s in a Wild Weasel mission. Wild Weasel is to take out radars. So, and it's believed, and I've heard this from multiple military analysts, that once the U.S. begins their hit on Iran, it will be a sustained hit for weeks up to months. So, yes, that's going on. We need to be in prayer for the U.S. military. And we have this.
Back at it again. I posted it.
So we've been hearing about almost $200 billion of fraud in one state, Minnesota. And President Trump this week named J.D. Vance to head up an investigation into welfare, Medicaid, Medicare fraud. And the state they're beginning with is Minnesota. Now, it comes out that in December, Congress sent a request, a committee in Congress that was investigating this fraud, sent a request to Minnesota, the governor, Waltz, to bring about several steps to address the issue of fraud in Minnesota. That was early in December. They received back the answer late December, which was the deadline.
Enjoy 24-hour access at most Planet Fitness clubs. $1 down, $15 a month. Deal ends February 27th.
Sunmade makes brightening the everyday moments easy. Make every bite shine.
But it did not meet the requirements of the investigators. Then in January, another request was made to Minnesota governor to bring about legislation in Minnesota to address fraud. Now, this is February. Further steps are being taken by the government. And one of these steps they're taking to force Minnesota into action is that the U.S. government is going to cut off welfare, Medicaid, Medicare money to Minnesota. So we heard yesterday from J.D. Vance and Dr. Oz, who are putting this forth to the American people, that some of the things they're going to be doing to force Minnesota to address fraud. They're going to, it's not just Minnesota, there are other states, but they're beginning to address Minnesota. They're going to stop money to Minnesota in the amount of $259 million per month. And they want Minnesota to put forth legislation to identify scammers. And they also want Medicare investigation by Minnesota into so-called providers of durable medical equipment. This money is also going to be stopped. It can be up to a 6-month period of stopping the money. And they also are requesting information regarding fraud, and they want that information, investigations within 60 days. And they want legislation by Minnesota to prevent, detect, and report fraud. Now, I did see yesterday Minnesota legislators talking about something they're trying to get passed. But at any rate, the U.S. government is taking action. J.D. Vance, and we know Dr. Oz works for Health and Human Services Under Secretary RFK Jr. So the U.S. government is going to stop money to Minnesota for welfare, Medicare, Medicaid for up to 6 months until Minnesota addresses this issue of fraud. And we have this. Oh, yeah. Currently in Geneva, Switzerland, Iran is just taking a break. Hey, we're not going to mount a preemptive strike on Israel and the U.S. bases while we're taking a break. So give us a break, Iran. The U.S. government, the U.S. military can fully anticipate your moves. So that's going on. It's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, 8-minute flash coming up, then I'm going to play that Dallas video next.
Welcome to Truth by Billy Bean. Today's date, February 26, 2026. Time in Texas about 1 p.m. A flash update. The talks in Geneva, Switzerland are going on today. The last-ditch talks between the U.S. and Iran. They interacted this morning for several hours. Then Iran wanted to take a break. During the break, Iranian sources leaked to Al Jazeera that they were just stringing the Americans along. But also during the break, the U.S. Made military moves. We also are coming across another Epstein contact and fallout, and also information about a U.S. pilot inside China training the CCP. So let's get started. So we have this, another fallout from Epstein contacts with the CEO of the World Economic Forum. We know a deep state group, globalist, Borge Brende, who resigned just a few minutes ago today. And these ties are between the World Economic Forum via Borge Brende and Epstein, I believe, will tie back also to the Clinton Foundation, which we understand now Epstein was instrumental in beginning. And it's widely observed by analysts that the Clinton Foundation functioned as a pay-for-play financial organization. So we have this, the CEO, Borge Brende, resigning today, that a few weeks ago, the World Economic Forum launched an investigation. Apparently, they came across something. And we have Borge Brende, who has been the CEO of WEF since 2017, when he first met Epstein, claiming in 2017 he did not know about Epstein's criminal background. And we know that happened about 2003, 5, 2009. So for this CEO to say he didn't know about Epstein's criminal background is not believable, because when you certainly are the head of a financial group, before you have financial talks and meetings with someone, you do a background check. So we see Borge Brende straight up lying. Well, he's out today, and that's going on. And we have this. So we have that from Intel. Iran has ICBMs that can travel 10,000 kilometers and can easily reach New York City, Washington, D.C., and Florida. I had a Patriot subscriber who made a comment on my Rumble channel saying, "Oh, you're putting out too much intel." Well, I'm not getting intel that hasn't already been released by responsible parties. And no one is releasing intel that would jeopardize our troops, for sure. And we have this coming from Israel, U.S. envoy to Israel, Huckabee, saying that he has knowledge that Iran has active agents now in 22 nations. Well, we would certainly believe they're active inside the U.S. And we have this. So this morning, there were several hours of talks between Iran and the U.S. The U.S., Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Iran, their foreign minister, Arachi. Then Iran wanted to take a break. So during that break, the U.S. military sent 14 planes from Hill Air Force Base located in Utah to Europe and the Middle East. So that happened about noon today. And they also, during the break, the U.S. then gave orders for the Gerald Ford Carrier Strike Group to move from Greece into the Mediterranean Sea. And they also scheduled, during the break, a sit-rep for President Trump that will take place tomorrow at the White House at 3 p.m. Can it be that that sit-rep tomorrow afternoon will just be taking place in the Situation Room? We would wonder. And now the talks in Geneva, Switzerland are to resume this afternoon. And we have this. Glenn Deason's interview with Colonel McGregor today. The purpose of the Ford Carrier Strike Group in the Mediterranean is to protect Israel. And that a U.S. hit on Iran, according to Colonel McGregor, is very likely. And we have this. We also have information about a former F-35 pilot. Well, he was trained on many planes, F-4, F-15, F-16, plus F-35, a Major Gerald Brown, traveling to China in 2023 and staying there until a few days ago when he returned to the U.S. The DOJ has issued an arrest warrant. He has been arrested and for selling defense secrets to China. We do not know how much money was involved. And he was arrested today in Jefferson, Indiana. So that's going on. And we have this. Yeah, so regarding this pilot, he went to China in 2023. His CCP contact is Stephen Subin. And then he went to China in December of 2023. He returned to the U.S. in February of 2026, and he has been arrested. So we see that going on. So it appears that during the break today and the talks in Geneva, Switzerland between the U.S. and Iran, the U.S. took that opportunity to juice up more military moves. So it's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
You introduce your buddy to TTFC.
Okay, we got 2 clips from Billy Bean so far. I am going to play 2 new videos. I haven't. We'll get to that big one there, 15-minute one here in a minute here. I got this one is something triangle, I'm not sure.
Had to say in a private meeting with Woodrow Wilson, president between 1913 and 1921, from the private papers of Woodrow Wilson, quote, "Very soon, every American will be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to keep track of the people, and that will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Every American
remember
will
this
be
one?
forced to register or suffer not being able to work and earn a living. They will be our chattel, and we will hold the security interest over them forever by operation of law merchant under the scheme of secured transactions. Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivered the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent, forever to remain economic slaves through taxation secured by their pledges. They will be stripped of their rights and given commercial value, designated to keep us a profit that will be none the wiser. For not one man in a million could ever figure out our
They finally
plan.
go. I wasn't
And
sure
if
on this
by
one if I
accident
played it.
one or two would figure it out, we have in our arsenal plausible deniability. After all, this is the only logical way to fund government, by floating liens and debt to the registrants in the form of benefits and pledges. This will inevitably reap us huge profits beyond our wildest of expectations and leave every American a contributor to this fraud, which we will call social insurance. Without realizing it, every American will insure us for any loss we may incur, and in this manner, every American will unknowingly be our servant, however begrudgingly. The people will become helpless without any hope for their redemption, and we will employ the high office of the president as our dummy corporation to foment this plot against America. Having established plausible deniability, even if people become enlightened that they had a remedy and pursued it, the attorneys, judges, and legislators could claim that they did not understand the people's claims, especially if the technical requirements for achieving it were not followed pursuant to statutory requirements. Requiring the public schools to teach civics, government, and history classes out of federally approved, politically correct textbooks written by the publishing houses owned by the owners of the Federal Reserve would assure that the people would not discover the remedy for a long time, if ever. I would recommend that everyone read Fruit from a Poisonous Tree by Melvin Stamper, Melvin Stamper, Stamper. That is Fruit from a Poisonous Tree. This is out of chapter 2 of Fruit from a Poisonous Tree.
Okay, I wasn't sure about that one. I hope that one was okay. We got another new clip, 6 minutes. On the 9/11 clip. I don't think I played it. Might be another new one out.
They didn't.
Anybody remember this one?
I have had long conversations over the past 2 weeks with contacts at the Army War College, at the headquarters Marine Corps, and I made it absolutely clear in both cases that it is 100% certain that 9/11 was a Mossad operation, period. First, the disbelief, and what I show them immediately afterwards is an interview with a demolitions expert named Danny Jowenko, and it shows the third building at the World Trade Center going down. And they look at that, and I said, now you understand that if one of the buildings was wired for demolition, all of them were wired for demolition. And that's it. That's the tipping point. Getting into arguments about who was flying what and where they were and whether there was nanothermite, those things are true, but they're incidental. The thing that's necessary is to tell people 3 buildings went down, the 3rd was not hit by a plane, it was wired for controlled demolition, therefore all of them were wired for controlled demolition. And at that point, the reaction is rage. First disbelief and then rage. 9/11
You
has
don't remember
led
this one?
directly to 60,000 Americans dead and wounded. God knows how many hundreds of thousands of people in other countries that we've killed or wounded or made homeless. This is an open wound. And what Americans need to understand is they did it. They did it. And if they do understand that, Israel's going to disappear. Israel will flat ass disappear from this earth. I sent a film to one of my colleagues, and it basically had Americans grieving over their dead coming back. And I showed one of them. It was a woman just wrenched by grief, over her dead soldier. And I said, if Americans ever know that Israel did this, they're going to scrub them off the earth, and they're not going to give a rat's ass what the cost is. They are not going to care. The first thing, Mark, is astonishment. They didn't know. They truly didn't know. And these are not unintelligent people. They really didn't know. And the next statement is rage. Real rage. The Zionists are playing this as truly an all or nothing exercise. Because if they lose this one, if the American people ever realize what happened, they're done. The military has not been bought. The military is loyal, but it has not been bought. And if it ever understands this, really, really deeply understands this, and this is what I got when I put some of these things to the Army War College and to Headquarters Marine Corps. I mentioned to a contact at Headquarters Marine Corps, I said, they did 9/11. And it was, you don't mean it. I said, absolutely. And if they ever understand that, these people are history.
Completely shocked. Unbelievable.
Right, that's the view from Palestinian side. Joining me now here in the BBC World studio is the former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, who's in London at the moment. Mr. Barak, welcome to BBC World. First, your reaction, having heard what's happened. At least 4 planes have been hijacked, and there may be more.
The world will not be the same from today on. I don't know who is responsible. I believe we will know in 12 hours. Bin Laden sits in Afghanistan. There is a source of
who else
terror.
Can you identify, though? Because we're not saying he's responsible for this necessarily.
No, we don't say that he's responsible. Every simple step, crossing borders or going on a plane or on a ship, will become more complicated. It's a time to launch a operational, concrete war against terror, even if it takes certain pains from the routine activities of our normal society. This is the time to deploy a globally concerted effort led by the United States, the UK, Europe, and Russia against all sources of terror consistently along 6 or 10 years. Iran, Iraq, Libya, North Korea. This is the only way. Without this clarity of purpose, there will be no world order, no world order possible here.
What do you guys think of this one? Thanks, Michael. Okay. We got the 1 15-minute one, and I got Captain Kyle has a 10-minute one. I got a 5-minute interview with Trump's former lawyer that just came out. It's frozen again.
Meet our expert. Federal authorities, meanwhile, raiding 2 locations earlier today. One of those locations, this house here.
41 people have been arrested and taken into ICE custody at a strip club in Dallas. The Dallas County Appraisal District says the owner of the bookstore is listed as a business that is registered to a person who also has the same name as one of the owners of that home in Plano.
The badge hit the table like a verdict.dia special agent in charge. Marcus Reedland stared at the photograph. A North Texas police captain in uniform, shaking hands with a known Sinaloa cartel courier outside a truck stop on I-35. Time-stamped. Geotagged. Undeniable. Then the second photo landed. A judge's signature on a dismissed trafficking case. Then a third. A state legislator's account number printed on a cartel ledger. 27 law enforcement officers. One network. And one man behind all of it. This moment ended a 14-month investigation. Here's how it started.
Approximately 198 kilograms, or an estimated 1.7 million counterfeit fentanyl pills. This marks the largest ever single seizure of fentanyl in the state of Colorado and the 6th largest ever in the United States.
The 341 AM. Dallas, Fort Worth Metroplex, North Texas. You need to understand the scale before a single door was kicked in. Over 14 months, a Sinaloa cartel fentanyl cell buried itself so deeply into the arteries of North Texas that investigators called it the ghost system. It didn't hide from infrastructure. It became infrastructure. Trucking routes along I-35 and I-20. Logistics warehouses registered as agricultural supply companies. Refrigerated freight moving fentanyl pills alongside actual produce shipments. By the time federal command authorized the raid, the network had moved an estimated $69.6 million in narcotics across 11 counties. 271 suspects were flagged for simultaneous arrest. And somewhere inside a Dallas field office, an encrypted server held a file labeled only. Architect. Nobody knew what was in it yet. Here's what they did know. Someone inside law enforcement had been feeding convoy routes to the cartel for at least 8 months. Raid schedules. Safe corridor windows. Evidence suppression timelines. The leak was surgical. Professional. And it hadn't been found yet. 3 questions hung over the entire operation as agents staged in the pre-dawn dark. Who built this network? Who was protecting it from the inside? And what was in the architect file? What they found in the first 10 minutes. Keep watching. Whoa. .417 AM. 6 locations. Simultaneous. The flashbangs came first. Sharp white cracks splitting the North Texas dark like lightning. With nowhere to go. FBI breach teams hit a logistics warehouse off I-35 South, while DIA tactical units flooded a residential compound in suburban Garland. ICE strike teams moved on a distribution hub disguised as a furniture import business near Irving. 2 more SWAT elements converged on stash houses in Grand Prairie and Mesquite. And 40 miles north, a sixth team descended on what property records listed as a private ranch. What it actually was would take another hour to understand. Suspects bolted. One tried to destroy a laptop by drowning it in a toilet. Another lit a duffel bag on fire in a warehouse corridor before 2 FBI agents tackled him into a stack of freight pallets. Documents rained from a second-story window. Hard drives were recovered from beneath a false floor in the furniture warehouse, still warm from being wiped. But wiped wasn't erased. Not for FBI Cyber Command. In the first hour alone, agents cataloged 2.1 tons of fentanyl pills, 800 kilograms of cocaine, $4.7 million in bundled cash, and a weapons cache that made seasoned agents stop and stare. 34 military-grade assault rifles, 6 RPGs, and body armor stenciled with a fake Dallas PD unit designation. That body armor, that detail right there, that's what changed everything. Because someone had to have provided those unit markings. Someone with departmental access. And that's when Agent Reedland understood the leak wasn't just logistical, it was structural. If you think that's the whole story, the next discovery is going to shock you. Stay with me. Underscore, underscore, score. 10:23 a.m. FBI Cyber Command, Dallas Field Division. 6 hours after the breach, 3 analysts were staring at screens that showed something that looked less like a cartel operation and more like a corporation. The operation had a name, Project Iron Meridian. And at its center was one man, Ricardo Salazar, known in Sinaloa networks by a single word, El Contador. The accountant. Salazar hadn't touched drugs in 15 years. He didn't need to. He was the architecture, the financial brain who turned a fentanyl trafficking cell into a franchise distribution empire. Shell companies absorbed cartel cash and routed it through 3 restaurant chains, a regional construction firm, and 2 registered nonprofits operating in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. From there, money moved offshore through layered accounts in financial gray zones. Clean.
We are gardeners.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
I was site director for Fortune 500 companies for a number of years. Now I was doing well.
Documented. Tax filed. One analyst, a 29-year-old named only in court documents as Agent K,
7 minutes.
reportedly pushed back from her keyboard, hands trembling, and called her supervisor. Her exact words, "This isn't organized crime. This is an org chart." But then the architect file cracked open, and the room went quiet in a way that had nothing to do with professionalism. The file contained 27 names, badge numbers, payroll accounts, meeting coordinates, every one of them connected to law enforcement. One name sat at the top of the list, a North Texas police captain with 19 years of service and a commendation for anti-trafficking work hanging on his office wall. Open Loop answered. The leak had a face, but El Contador wasn't working alone at the top. The architect file had a second layer, someone with federal security clearance, someone the cartel called El Fantasma, the ghost. Guess who it was? The answer is 60 seconds away. 5:23 a.m. Joint Task Force Command Center, North Texas. The digital map on the command wall looked like a constellation of red stars. 43 active target sites spread across the DFW Metroplex and into surrounding counties. The joint operation mobilized 1,200 federal agents, 60 SWAT teams, 14 Black Hawk helicopters, DIA tactical units, and ice strike teams staged at 4 coordinated entry points. What followed was the largest single-day law enforcement operation in North Texas history. A fentanyl super lab hidden inside a temperature-controlled agricultural facility outside Fort Worth, capable of producing 400 kilograms per week, was breached, neutralized, and destroyed. A luxury compound in Southlake, registered to a logistics LLC, yielded 4 senior cartel cell leaders, $11 million in cash, and encrypted phones still receiving incoming messages from Sinaloa handlers. A border tunnel entry point 70 miles south was simultaneously mapped and collapsed. And in a trafficking transit house in South Dallas, 47 victims, men, women, and 3 children, were escorted into the cold morning air by agents who for a moment forgot they were supposed to stay professional. By noon, the total seizure stood at 8.4 tons of narcotics, $67 million in seized assets, 271 arrests, 89 firearms, 14 armored cartel vehicles. Then the last server decrypted. The operation was a success, the task force commander told federal partners that afternoon. The network is dismantled. He was wrong. And here's where I need you to focus, because this is where it gets terrifying. The final server didn't reveal more cartel logistics. It revealed El Fantasma. Not a corrupt street cop, not a municipal judge. A mid-level federal logistics coordinator embedded inside a Department of Homeland Security contracting office. Fictional identity cleared as Agent Daniel Voss in sealed court filings, who had spent 3 years quietly routing federal freight inspection schedules to Salazar's team. Safe corridor windows. Inspection-free lanes. Real-time alerts when federal surveillance assets repositioned. Voss hadn't been recruited by force. He'd been recruited with $2, $3 million in staggered offshore payments over 31 months. His access wasn't dramatic. It was administrative. And that administrative access was worth more to the Sinaloa cell than any weapon in any warehouse. This wasn't a few bad apples. Reedland would later tell the Joint Federal Oversight Briefing. This was a parallel system. A second force. One that answered to the cartel, not the Constitution. The arrest sweep that followed wasn't a perp walk. It was an autopsy. 23 police officers, 7 Border Patrol agents, 4 judges, 11 state legislators. Badges removed in hallways. Handcuffs on men who had sworn oaths. A deputy sheriff watched his sergeant, someone he'd worked with for 6 years, walked out of a precinct in cuffs. He didn't speak for the rest of the shift. Comment exposed below if you believe these stories need to reach more people.
Just start over a couple minutes.
Ricardo El Contador Salazar was arrested at a private airfield outside Denton, Texas, attempting to board a chartered flight to Mexico. Federal marshals had the airfield surrounded before he reached the runway. He surrendered without incident, wearing civilian clothes and carrying a laptop he'd apparently believed was clean. It wasn't. 271 cartel members in custody. 27 officers charged. $69.6 million in assets frozen. The network was gone. The North Texas corridor was clear. Or so they thought. Understore, underneath glove store, underthought. Because the last file recovered from Salazar's laptop, the one his own team hadn't finished uploading before his arrest, contained franchise documentation, operational templates, encrypted onboarding packets. 3 more states, 3 more cells. Already operational, identical architecture, same shell company structures, same law enforcement penetration blueprint, same architect template, renamed and relocated. Salazar hadn't built a cartel network. He'd built a model, and he'd already sold it. They didn't just infiltrate the system, a senior FBI analyst summarized in the classified debrief. They redesigned it. And shutting down Dallas just showed us how many franchises were already open. In Texas alone last year, 2,400 people died of overdoses. 61% of those deaths involved fentanyl traced to logistics corridors identical to the ones dismantled in this operation. Somewhere in those numbers is a mother's son who bought what he thought was a painkiller and didn't wake up. Somewhere is a family that never got a warning, a recall notice, or a reason. 89 victims were rescued in this operation. Investigators believe more than 200 remain unaccounted for. An honest sergeant from a North Texas precinct, speaking to federal debriefers after the arrests, said only this: "We have to rebuild what they hollowed out. That's going to take longer than the investigation did. This is not just a crime story. This is a blueprint. It happened here. It's happening elsewhere. And power doesn't always need violence. Sometimes it just needs silence and one accountant who never touches the product. If you made it this far, you're seeing what most people scroll past. Tap like so this story reaches more people. Share it with someone who needs to understand how deep this goes. And that franchise model Salazar built, the next cell it connects to is operating out of a city you wouldn't expect. That investigation drops Friday. Subscribe.
Okay, that was a crime video, like they said, out of Texas. I wrote a post this morning telling everybody. So got at least a half hour. Next one is 5, then the 10-minute one. These are 2 new ones from the Hillary story today. Let's play this one.
Drive north of New York City on the side of your screen. Obviously, that's former First Lady and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. And she is now sitting for a history-making closed-door deposition in the House Oversight investigation of pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Her husband will be in the hot seat tomorrow, Bill Clinton. And some of the questions we're told to expect include the circumstances surrounding Epstein's death and how he and Ghislaine Maxwell built ties with some of the most powerful figures in the world. Both depositions, Hillary and Bill Clinton's, will be under oath, transcribed and taped, videotaped. Here's House Oversight Chairman James Comer.
The American people have a lot of questions. To my knowledge, the Clintons haven't answered very many, if any, questions about their knowledge or involvement with Epstein and Maxwell. Again, no one's accusing at this moment the Clintons of any wrongdoing. They're going to have due process, but we have a lot of questions.
Chief Congressional Correspondent Chad Pergram is in Chappaqua. Chad.
Harris, good morning. Well, Chappaqua is the center of the Epstein controversy today because the Clintons live here. They live just about a mile over this ridge. James Comer, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, he is expecting a long deposition with Hillary Clinton today. As you say, the deposition just started a couple of moments ago. We just got a statement from Hillary Clinton, and she indicated that she said this is a scandal that is a tragedy and worth investigating, but she says she doesn't know much about it. However,
God.
James Comer, he teased another big name today who he may request for an interview, and that is the Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick.
That's very possible, and I think I think it's a good possibility that his name will
We saw
arise
that.
in some questioning today.
It'll
maybe.
be on my list, and I haven't.
We saw that part already, so that was a short clip on that one. Scandal. Oh. This one.
And with weekly bonus packs, players get more for their money, with more chances and more thrills.
Calling all Thrillionaires. FanDuel Casino.
As we continue to follow this breaking news, Hillary Clinton's Epstein deposition has been paused. That's due to a leaked photo. And there's that photo there again on your screen. The House Oversight Committee's deposition of Hillary Clinton being paused after Republican Representative Lauren Boebert sent this photo on your screen of the closed-door proceeding to a conservative influencer, Benny Johnson. Johnson posting the photo of Clinton at the deposition online and saying Boebert had provided it. The deposition is being recorded on video, but Comer has said that will only be released after Clinton attorneys have a chance to review it. And the committee's rules do not allow outside press or photographers to take photos of the proceedings. A bit earlier, we learned that former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton told U.S. House lawmakers she had no knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's or Ghislaine Maxwell's crimes. We do have a post here from X that Hillary Clinton put out a bit earlier today, about 4 pages in length, but here's one quote from it. It says, "I have no idea about their criminal activities. I do not recall ever encountering Mr. Epstein." Clinton's testimony starts off 2 days of depositions that will also include former President Bill Clinton. Both interviews will be closed to the press, but they will be transcribed and videotaped. And Comer told Fox News Digital on Wednesday that the former first couple's testimony, quote, is critical to understanding Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's sex trafficking network and the ways they sought to curry favor and influence to shield themselves from scrutiny. Now, I wanted to bring you this live look here out of Chappaqua, New York, outside the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center, as we did hear from both Republicans and Democrats a bit earlier today. And we are still anticipating to hear from them once again. They're unclear when that will be happening, but the Clintons' testimony comes after months of back and forth with the committee on the circumstances and conditions of these interviews. The former president's deposition was originally requested in October, and that's according to the House Oversight Committee. It was then moved to December 17th, a date which Clinton declined, citing the need to attend a funeral. The committee then requested the former president provide dates that would work for him in January, to which Clinton again declined. Finally, the committee then issued this follow-up subpoena with a deposition date of January 13th. Clinton failed to appear. Hillary Clinton's deposition was also originally supposed to take place in October and was then moved to December 18th. She also declined, citing the funeral. The same process occurred thereafter. The committee requested the former Secretary of State propose dates in January. She declined. A follow-up subpoena was issued, and she failed to appear. They are two of several people who Comer subpoenaed for information on Epstein back in August, and their attorneys initially pushed back on those subpoenas, calling them legally invalid and a violation of the separation of powers. But House Republicans responded by pressing forward with resolutions to hold both Clintons in contempt of Congress. The lawyers, finally agreed to Comer's terms just days before a full House vote was expected to move forward. Now we're getting into this reaction here from Representative Boebert. This just popping up saying Benny did nothing wrong, proceeding with the depositions. Okay, so some breaking news here. We do know the deposition now proceeding after being paused after that photo was sent by Representative Boebert to influencer Benny Johnson, and it was posted to social media. But now we are learning here that they are proceeding with the deposition. So you're taking, once again, that live look there outside the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center. If we get any additional comments here from lawmakers, we will bring it to you.
Blah, 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 right, you guys? Blah, blah. Okay, we'll do Trump's lawyer. Where'd it go? There it is.
Into the show. Good to see you, Lena.
Hey, Bianca, how are you?
5 minutes.
I'm good. Tell and Susie Wiles commenting on this, talking about how outrageous it is. And at one point in this report, it is that Susie Wiles' attorney knew that it was being recorded and she didn't. She says, I am in shock. I guess first off, and the most glaring question is, how was this allowed to happen to private citizens?
It's not, actually. It's not allowed. You're not allowed to do it. They didn't have any basis. We've seen that. We've seen Cash speak about the fact that the former FBI under the Biden administration was weaponizing against private citizens that they saw as a threat, and a campaign person who they saw as a threat. It is absolutely beyond anything I could have ever imagined. And to say that Susie Wiles now is evidently being spied on by the former FBI with her lawyer in a privileged conversation,
This is beyond the pale of anything I've ever seen in America. It's not how we operate. And that's why Kash is laying down the hammer, as we've seen, and has gotten rid of anybody who would use the Justice Department or the FBI in a manner that is un-American.
Yeah, it is shocking. And I know that a lot of people are looking at Jack Smith saying there needs to be accountability, the taxpayer money that was used to go after President Trump, the weaponization. In addition to this, there's also a new FBI memo that says Biden was briefed before the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Again, right there, pretty telling stuff. But will there be accountability in this, Alina?
You know, the one thing I have to explain to the American people that always ask and say, oh, we need to see arrests, we need to see arrests. You know, the difference between this administration and the last is that we follow the rules. We have probable cause when we make arrests. We go through our FBI the right way. So if you want us to go out and just arrest or spy on people, no, that's what the last DOJ did. This DOJ will not do that. We will make arrests when arrests are warranted, but we will do so lawfully. I have to tell you, Bianca, a story that nobody, and I've never spoken about this, so I'm happy to tell you, but that Jack Smith DOJ under Biden showed up at my house. I had FBI come to my home. I was the president's lawyer too, and it was unacceptable. I was dragged in. They tried to breach all kinds of questions that are privileged and unacceptable. This is what we were dealing with. So Americans need to understand we won't operate that way. And we're most certainly not going to tolerate any agents that illegally spy or do anything that is grossly unconstitutional.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I guess in light of all of this, you can't be surprised. And we also want to refresh everyone's memory. Here is Joe Biden in his own words on camera saying he denies any knowledge of the raid of Mar-a-Lago. Let's play this.
Mr. President, how much advance notice did you have of the FBI's plan to search Mar-a-Lago?
I didn't have any advance notice. None. Zero. Not one single bit.
How does he skirt that? How does this
look, in fairness,
not
Bianca,
go unnoticed?
Perhaps the man has no recollection because he couldn't walk upstairs and he didn't have much of a memory. So that's the only way in which I could see that he could ever skirt it, is because he genuinely was not capable of remembering or had his faculties, which we know was an issue. Look at the auto pen. But realistically, look, there are records. And by the way, it should be raised. Kash Patel found that these records were put in a privileged private sector of the FBI that he didn't even know about and has now said is no more because we are transparent, which was strictly to evade accountability. That is why we are seeing all of the noise right now from the other side of the table, right? They're screaming and yelling about Epstein and things that are frankly anything but discussing how well the president is doing, the economy is doing, and all these things, because they want to hide Joe Biden's knowledge. They want to hide what Jack Smith, who now we know Judge Cannon has said is completely and was improperly put in. And they just want to come after Trump, and they tried and they failed. And now we're going to clean it up.
Alina, a final thought too is this also, ties into what they did with sitting members of Congress, Arctic Frost, and the spying on members of Congress. And that is still ongoing. We cannot forget that is not being dismissed or looked over. Any updates you can share with us on that?
Look, I will tell you, if you pay close attention, there was a post that was made with a statue out of wood that was found in the FBI that was promoting Arctic Frost and their complete weaponization of the justice system. They saw it as a true trophy, and there was a trophy that was found when we took over in this administration. It is disturbing. I can tell you that you may not see everything. You may not be able to be told everything, but this DOJ, the FBI, we're going to get to the bottom of it, and we will be holding you accountable.
Alina Habba, the senior advisor to the Attorney General. Good.
Hey, Trump's former lawyer there. I got one more 10-minute one and a couple more short ones. And I'll be back at 7.
I am coming to you guys today to talk to you about a lot of the craziness that is happening over on Instagram and Facebook, and it is rampant. Liberals are just in like meltdown mode over there, posting all kinds of crap that basically is unchecked 100%. And, you know, it's like they keep talking about all this stuff with Donald Trump and the Epstein files. It got him good and blah, 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 blah. What I want you guys to understand is that the FBI has had all of this stuff whenever Comey, Brennan, Clapper, and all of these guys were the ones in charge and knew that they were all bogus crap. And if Hillary would have won, then they would have been able to clean house because of the control apparatus that they had. But with Donald Trump actually winning and having the military actually behind them, they knew there was no way, chance in hell, that any of it was valid. So because of that, they had to come up with the fake narrative of the Russia, which was a Steele dossier, which was all fabricated, every bit of it. And so if they had to basically go to a made up story that they hoped no one would be able to, if they had these stuff that these Democrats and these liberal libtards actually are trying to post out there, then they would have hung him a long time ago. And something that I do know, because I've seen it with my own eyes with the Anthony Weiner laptop. Oh yeah, by the way, they have that too, and still do, and incomplete. And every one of these individuals have been on camera doing these things because they never, ever, ever thought that they were going to be taken down. Ever. So with that, Donald Trump, none, ever. And he was like just a businessman when they were trying to say these things, which had absolutely no precedence as far as to be why he wouldn't allow that on the to be videoed, where everyone else did, and they didn't even know they were being videoed. Wow, that seems to be like he never was where he's being claimed to actually be. So you guys need to freaking actually use some common sense and not keep going down these stupid rabbit holes that these libtards and the narrative that they're pushing out there right now. If you don't believe the plan, then just get the fuck out of the way. Because we don't want you to continue to muddy the waters with doubt. Because the military, they're 100% in control. And they used Donald Trump and came to Donald Trump because they knew he was clean. That's why every story that has been done about him has been a bogus, made up crap. Oh, his convictions had to be that he paid Stormy Daniels and hush money. Are you fucking kidding me? That's the best you can do? It's like, come on, people. Really, seriously. I told you that this was, you needed to be strong and that you needed to be grounded in the truth, your truth. Because when other people start to give you their truth, if it's not based in reality, then it shouldn't bother you one bit. And you don't have to defend the truth. The truth defends itself. It stands on its own. All it has to do is put out there. That's for God to deal with, not for you. So this whole place that we're in right now, when I said you needed to be prepared, that is spiritually prepared, grounded, and know what your truth is in God, yourself, and what is actually going on. Because the enemy is not giving up. It's not going to give up because it's on its last acts of defiance. It is flinging everything that it can out there in the world to try to regain power. But it's over. It's over, and it knows it. So it's going to try to take as much down with it. Don't get caught up in the noise. Don't get caught up in the BS of people that are either babies, don't know the truth, how long they've been in this fight. Stand in your truth and have your truth, because that's the only way that you can actually stand up against the enemy, is to be grounded in your truth. This is a fight to the end, not halfway, not a quarter of the way, to the end. And don't let the enemy steal what God has for you, because that's his goal, is to rob, kill, steal, and destroy. Don't give up. Stand in your truth and know that this fight is over. We just have to get to the end. Everything that's happening is about exposing the corruption and taking it down. This fight is now coming to the public stage, out into the public arena. It's going to get ugly. And you have to be grounded in your truth and not get caught up in what the world is showing you, because it's trying to manipulate your mind. This is a war for your mind, your heart, and your soul. Stand. Know God. Know that Christ showed you the way. It's all about standing and knowing who you are. You are a son and daughter of the Creator of all things. Don't allow the enemy to rob you of your destiny, because it is your destiny. This is the greatest time in history to be alive. And imagine back in the day when others tried to walk out their truth, and they were bombarded. Every time someone is plowing new ground, it is the hardest to actually be first. Always remember that. God loves you, and I love you. And use some common sense, because these platforms that are out there are being manipulated by influencers, bots, and it is a calculated plan on how they are manipulating the minds of patriots. Don't let it manipulate you. Stay out of the weeds. Keep that 40,000 foot mark, and you can see it. You need to go down for a minute, okay. But when you get into the muck and the mire of trying to argue and fight with it, you're in the weeds, and you're going to get caught up in it. That's why it is intentional for that to actually happen. So don't let it. Don't let that pull you down into that crap. Please don't let it happen. We are so close. And God has a plan for you. Stand in your truth. It has to be your truth, not my truth, because you can't stand in my truth than where I am. But you have to stand in your truth and know that nobody can steal that from you. Nobody. And you don't have to fight with it. You don't have to defend yourself, and you don't have to defend Donald Trump. The plan is the plan, and it will happen whether you like it or not. Nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. Not the enemy, not these libtards, and not the useful idiots. So don't allow a useful idiot to bring doubt or potential disbelief into your heart. Not now. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Captain Kyle out.
Okay, the latest Captain Kyle. So I got about 3 or 4 short ones I'm going to do. Let's do Dark Guys a short one, 5 minutes. The second one.
Trump has a way of, he supports the 80% issues that Americans want, and then he forces the Democrats to defend a percent issue. It's a giant trap. Democrats fell for it. This is about 3 different political pundits saying the same thing. Welcome to Doug in Exile. Watch this.
I think Trump's entire speech was actually pretty unifying. I think Donald Trump's superpower is positioning himself as the common sense guy who's advocating for positions that the vast majority of Americans want. And there was one moment at the beginning where he invited the USA hockey team. And of course, the crowd went wild chanting USA, USA. And then the camera panned to Rashida Tlaib, who appeared to be mouthing KKK. And then again, you had another moment where Trump says, stand up if you want to support American citizens over illegal aliens. And instead, Ilhan Omar is screaming and heckling the president. And those are the best kind of sound bites and visuals that the GOP can have for the midterms, because a lot of people might not like Donald Trump and might be kind of hemming and hawing. And then they look at the alternative and they say, oh, well, this really angry woman, gosh, I don't know about her. So that's...
It's not only about her. I want you to remember that math equation, 80-20 issue, 80% to 20% issue. This is not just against Democrats. I'm going to make this case, unfortunately, against our buddy John Thune. Why? John Thune, the SAVE Act, he will not bring it to the floor. He's promising that he will bring it to the floor, but he has not, because he thinks there's more important issues. It's why is John Thune not supporting something that is a 80-20 issue? Your Republicans represent you. This is a representative government. Trump overwhelmingly won. All of these Republicans are supposed to represent you, and he's having a hard time pulling the trigger to vote on an 80% issue. He claims the Republican Party is divided on the issue. Well, what side of the division are you on, Republican? Are you on the 80% with America that want the SAVE Act to be voted on and passed? Or are you on the 20% Democrat pro-illegal alien lunatic side?
Filibuster issue is one on which there is not certainly a unified Republican conference, and there would have to be. If you go down that path, you're talking about the need to table what are going to be numerous amendments, and an ability to keep 50 Republicans unified pretty much on every single vote. And there isn't support for doing that at this point.
There is not support to get 50%. That is the amount of votes that we need is 50%. We need 50 of them hold together. He says there's not enough unity in the Republican Party. He can't get the Republican Party to stand behind an 80% popular issue. Now, this is on Trump setting a trap. This is the trap that he set on getting our leadership to stand for, again, an 80% popular issue.
The president was setting up Democrats in a really simple and easy way. They shouldn't have fallen for it. It seems pretty easy to stand up and say, actually, no, I support American people first. That is where I stand. And we can have a nuanced conversation afterwards if you want about illegal immigration. But they walked into that trap because it was so easy.
It's a trap.
Well, but that's not true. I mean, I stand for
most Democrats did not stand.
I stand for Americans over non-citizens, and so do all of my colleagues. But just because it's not the Galactic Senate, just because the Emperor says rise doesn't mean I get up. Like
I stand for our citizens. I just don't stand for our citizens. That's Democrat thinking. That's Jared Moskowitz, Democrat Florida. I stand for our citizens. I just don't stand for our citizens. Did you catch that?
Sometimes I'm a different branch of government. I rose for the heroes that were in the gallery, not because the president
not for the other point.
I stand for a hockey team, but I don't stand for America. When Trump says stand for the hockey team, I stand. But when Trump says stand for the American citizens, I don't stand. That's a trap. He fell for it. Here's Bill O'Reilly saying the same thing. It's a trap.
We're going to lay a trap. We're going to lay a trap.
And the trap is going to be the Constitution, which every elected official has to swear to uphold the laws of the country, which require that Americans are protected by their government. So the question is, put Americans first on the protection list. Who stands up for that? And all Republicans leap to their feet and the Democrats sit there. Are you kidding me? How stupid are they? They could have just stood up. That doesn't mean you are not compassionate to migrants. That doesn't mean you support unfair policies toward immigrants. It means that you understand what the Constitution says. But not one Democrat was smart enough to do it.
They fell for a trap. They're that dumb. Who else says it's a trap? How about Caroline Leavitt?
It shows their true colors, Sean. President Trump set the Democrats up in a trap.
It's a trap.
And they fell right into it because they cannot help themselves. They truly stand on the side of the tens of millions of illegal aliens who they allowed to pour in to our nation's open borders under the Biden administration.
Look, Caroline Leavitt, she's wearing the same black turtleneck that I am today. I feel so fashionable and young. Thank you guys for watching. Will Trump use this trap against the Democrats?
Okay, we got 2 in today. A couple more, you guys. Let's do this one. Another 4-minute one.
Begin transmission. Greetings. We are Anonymous, also known as the Collective. Today's date is Thursday, February 26, 2026. This is a message to every American citizen, not the red ones or the blue ones. The ones who wish to really wake up. Some of you may recall a video that we posted regarding the sugar that was purchased from Walmart, and what we and the lady in the video discovered. We are going to take you down a rabbit hole that some of you will scoff, some it will resonate with, and some will post negative comments. I would like for you to watch, observe those comments. The slang used for a non-Jewish person is goy. We are certain that within their culture it is like or similar to the word cracker. We will stop there. Some foods are referred to as goy slop. It is foods made for the goy. Watch the following video. It has huge implications.
I'm looking at other products and I'm like, okay, that one had a use specifically. And I think it's different types of products. You know, meats might have one, the honeys and those type of products might have one, the juices might have one. So I come over here and I'm looking at the hot dogs. I'm like, okay, hot dogs gotta be right. So I find Hebrew National Hot Dogs. And in the bottom right here, what do I see? I see a K. So I'm like, okay, well, let's take a look at like Oscar Mayer, which is like the ultimate goy slop, right? Ultimate goy slop. And I don't see a K on this package. So now I'll take you over and I'll show you the honey so you guys can see what I'm talking about. We got K on that meat. We'll do this all together, one video, no edits, so you guys see what I'm doing. I got my headphones on like I'm at the gym. I was just at the gym. I don't know why I still have my headphones on in here, but I'm not using them for sure. So if you guys want to roast me in the comments, feel free. All right, goy slop hunting. That's what we're doing here at Meyer. I don't shop at Walmart. I refuse to shop at Walmart. So the kid's in a video, right? And he holds up a bottle of honey. He's like, you know how this isn't how we know this isn't basically goy slop? He said, see that little U there on the bottom? He goes, you know what that U means? You know who that's for, right? It's how these people don't poison themselves. So I started to look over here at other brands of honey, and they don't have the U on them, right? Just this one, okay? So then I went over to the juice section, and I seen that they had a little K on it. And I'm like, right, because they shop at our same stores. But how are they buying products that aren't poisoning themselves? All right, now let me show you guys the juice.
I don't know about this one, you guys. Sorry about. I didn't like that one. I don't know if you guys did or not. I'll make up to two other ones here. Let's do Did you guys see this?
Who let the frogs out? Who let the frogs out? Let's go across the White House. Let's do this.
One minute. Sorry, Angie.
This is what you're scared of, MAGA. It's because you're a little bitch.
What we want from this is to show the absurdity of
brother-in-law
the
told me
fascist
this
Trump regime
today.
by bringing peace, joy,
believe it.
happiness, and humor, contrasting that with the violence of ICE agents on the streets of the United States of America, who are masked, who are armed, who are violent, who are scary. And this is the absurd protest countering that, showing our humanity and our kindness. I think a lot of people have been convinced by those in power that your voice does not matter. And I've learned personally over the last year that your voice absolutely makes a difference. And when you speak out, you encourage and promote others to also speak out. And I hope people learn to use their voice while we still have it, because it will and can make a difference, and it does make an impact in this world.
To rip it at the White House. Rip it, rip it, rip it.
Flying Eagles, what do you think? Oh.
So hell yeah! What a night! Let's party! I gotta stop swinging the dick around.
This country was built on the backs of immigrants. And one of the first things I think instinctually I'm fighting against when I get arrested by ICE, because I've gotten arrested 3 times by them in the last 4 months, is I want to fight for marginalized people in this country. And that's one of the most major demands. This country was built on the backs and blood of immigrants. And if we really want to fix the immigration problem, let's fix the pathway to citizenship. Instead of 20 years, let's get it down to 5. You know, if you're hardworking and you want to come to this country and explore the American dream, you should not have to be bullied by Christian nationalists. You know, this isn't just a country for 100 people that are all Botoxed out in Mar-a-Lago. This is a country of the people, for the people, by the people. Not just the billionaires, but especially the hardworking veterans, the dreamers, the weirdos, you know, the giraffes, the frogs. We are all coming together, where I feel like a lot of the bullies and billionaires at the top want us fighting over what, men and women's sports and immigration rights. Well, we can come together on so much more, man. We're going to have an incredible minimum wage. We're going to turn the word protest into festivals and have the greatest parties of our life, man.
Trump, raw dog from behind. He's a monster.
All time. Okay, last one under 4 minutes. I don't know if anybody's seen this one.
By Major General Count Sheriff Spiritovich, the secret world government, or the hidden hand, unrevealed in history, 100 historical mysteries explained. This man is explaining that there is a hidden hand, there is a secret government, and they are of the nature of the individuals who are taking over now, the blues with a J, that they are the ones that have been running society because they made a pact with a god. He calls it Satan, but that's his position. But I want to read to you this very specific. I have to be careful about what I really was trying to debate whether to put this on the internet at all, because it could really get me in trouble. But particular page, I just want you to see this particular part. where he says right here, he's talking about proof of the existence of
You
this
play this one?
invisible world government, this hidden hand. He says, the world is governed by very different personages from what is imagined by those who are not behind the scenes, i.e., not by kings and ministers. Disraeli said not others, but different, which means not the kings, ministers, or other similar men, but absolutely different, possibly even of a different race. Who they are must be known first of all, and only then can we control them and establish peace, but not before. You know how I'm always saying I'm calling them creatures and creeps, and I'm saying they're not human. I don't know what they are, and this has been my biggest reason around this. I ain't unifying because I don't know what these things are. This apparently has been known. This has nothing to do with religion. I'm not talking about religion or race. I'm talking about like a species of a soul or something that's on this planet. And that's what he's talking about here. Yeah, he says, Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor, perceived the existence of invisible forces, but could not or did not wish to formulate them, and called them imponderabilia, powers which no one could fathom. I think I saw where you could get this book, like a free PDF, and read it. I didn't try the link, but I did see something come up in my Google search about it. So maybe you can find it and read it. I don't know how available it is to get your hands on, but this is a very valuable book. He says I haven't finished reading yet, but it looks like he's about to tell us why France and Russia went into the War of 1812. He said it was a hidden hand that organized it. He says earlier also that the Civil War was absolutely 100% organized, and nothing about that was organic or true as far as the version of the story that they told. But yes, I recommend, if you could get your hands on this book. If you Google this guy, it's going to say he's racist and anti semi-truck, but that's because of what he says in this book.
Okay, I hope that was okay to end the show with. All right, so we'll take a few hours off, and I'll be back at 7. So thanks, Kay, Flanagan, to see Tim. I didn't see Tim in here today. Carol. So a lot of good stuff for the first show again. And we'll see you after dinner time. And bless everybody, to all. Remember, please hit like, sub to the description box, the backup channel. Thank you. Stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith. Never give up. Signing off. Chico Noon for later on tonight. See you soon.